Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody today? I am just fine. One more day and then off for the Thanksgiving Day weekend. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you'll have a nice, relaxing time. Thanksgiving. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the football. I posted Thanksgiving games are posted in the NFL. I posted 3 locks, big ones, 35 unit lock and another 31 unit locks. So this is some pretty serious locks that I got this week. And I'm really frustrated with last week's locks. So although I hit the pro locks, but these are better than the pro locks. These are good locks. Um, I just by now I know all the teams. I mean, I know all the pros at college. I got them down to a science. So really, really strong. A couple of them basically playing, teams that are playing better now than before. Four really good ones. Two revenge games. You got Ohio State, Michigan. You got Oregon, Washington are revenge. I think there's another one in here. Although I can't think of it. Arizona State. Those are the three kind of big revenge games. So we will see. More so than in pro, you don't get a lot of revenge games. I want to talk gold. I want to show you something of Egon first. So let's talk gold just to get it out of the way. Let's see where it's at. It was up a little bit today. 26.28 up $10. It was up to 26.32. And it's just taking that. It's been weird how Asia has been kind of dumping it. And then we're getting the 8 o'clock go up. And then 10 o'clock it gets dumped. And then it's been going back up after 10. Really strange. But again, it's derivatives. So I wouldn't worry. Silver 30.38. Just ignore it. It's not real. It's buy and buy and buy. And like I told my friend at work, I says, well, buy the silver. It's $30. It cost you 31, 32. He says, you can't lose. And what are you going to do? You can get 3 ounces for $100. What else are you going to do with the $100? So that's where we're at. 26.28, up $10. It got up to 26.40. I'm expecting that tomorrow the markets probably close early, the U.S. for Thanksgiving, and then they're closed Thanksgiving. And then Friday, they probably are still closed for half a day. So they might close early Friday, but look for an explosion on Thursday for sure. And then it won't drop. And then Friday it should go up. So we'll see, unless China's playing derivatives also. And again, it's just simply the options are, it went up and they shorted them and they went down and now they're going back up. That's what I'm surprised to see. That'll probably happen tomorrow. It was weird. I got my paycheck today. I got my thing in the email yesterday. Normally I get paid after it. And I go, I wonder if this is, because I normally get paid Friday and I get the check Thursday. But I guess because they're probably closed Thursday and Friday, they're doing payroll on Wednesday. And so I get it today. So I'm not complaining. And it was a full check. So I was happy about that. Anyway, next week I won't get much of a check. I only get 3 days instead of 5, but that's okay. So be it. I'm still making more than I was on Social Security. All right. Let's look at Egon. I did where is it? Okay. All right. This is Egon on Twitter. And I'm going to read it the way it's written. And this should relieve all your fears. I tell you this too, but it's nice to get a second opinion sometimes, like going to a doctor, which we don't do anymore. We just do Celtic salt and cayenne pepper and have lemons and ginger, and we're fine. The case for cold is incontrovertible. The fuck is that? Incontrovertible. I don't know what that word is. I guess inconceivable. So this is by Egon. As Eastern and Southern central banks substantially increase their gold holdings. Now, this is November. This is today on Twitter. I do follow him, and I think he follows me because I always nitpick at him, and I go professor, and I get at him. As Eastern and Southern central banks, so that's Asia, that's Middle East, that's Africa, that's parts of Europe, substantially increase their gold holdings, Western central banks will most probably have little physical gold in their offers. This is what we're fighting. Since they don't have any gold, it's very difficult for them to want the price to go up. And since they're controlling the price, they're fighting. You know, if Bobby has gold and I don't, he wants the price to go up and I want it to go down so I can buy it. But if we both have it, we want the price to go up. But the people without the gold don't want the price to go up because they know they don't have any and they're going to get killed. So, you know, it's like a Mickey Mantle rookie. We don't have it. We want the price to come down, or the Jordan rookie. Total global gold reserves allegedly held by central banks, 37,000 tons, are valued at $3 trillion at the current market price of $2,700. That value is absurd when one U.S. company, Microsoft, has the same valuation. Just think about it. Microsoft is as big as the gold backing of the global financial system. And that's what I'm saying. The price should be 27,000, not 2,700. It makes no sense. Furthermore, Western central banks have most probably hypothecated and rehypothecated, lent or leased their gold several times via bullion banks. That gold will never come back. So they've sold their gold to China. Consequently, central banks is heavily short on gold and will be badly squeezed as the gold market becomes disorderly. The combination of Eastern, Southern central bank gold buying and all central banks replacing their dollar reserves with gold will lead to unprecedented demand for gold for many years. More gold cannot satisfy this demand since the gold mine production of about 3,000 tons cannot be increased. So there's very limited gold. The demand's huge, and there's no way to get enough gold to cover demand, basically in English. Thus, the substantial increase in physical gold demand can only be satisfied by much, much higher prices. We're talking economics, supply and demand. If supply is short, as it is, and demand's huge, as it is, you either make more supply, which you can't, or you raise the price because there's more people that want it than there is. And that's what I talk about with Mr. Mahomes here. Since he's 50, if 100 people want this card, the price has to go up because the first 50 have it and they go, oh, you want the card? Well, I'm going to add $500 to it because you want it. And Mahomes people will buy it. This is why gold will rise by multiples. This article could stop here. You must know the above to understand why gold will be significantly revalued. Still, the article contains a lot of interesting material. The incontrovertible case for gold. So I recommend you read on. Okay. We will read on. Gold is up 78 times since Nixon closed the gold window. It should be up 578 times. Since 1971, going up 78 times since Nixon closed the gold window. As I have stated in many articles, gold is now in its exponential phase. I've shown my illustration of what exponential means with this picture. This is his, how long does it take to fill the stadium with water? 1 drop per minute. The number of drops doubles every minute. 1 day, 1 month, 1 year to fill. No, only 50 minutes. So you keep doubling 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. How full after 45 minutes? 75 to 90%? No, only 7%. In the final 5 minutes, it goes from 7% to 100. We're close to the final 5 minutes, right? We are way past. We're about at 40 minutes. So the next 5, and then it goes from 7% to 100%. And that's what we're waiting for. They make it clear gold is now in a phase when the price will go up by multiples. The demand's high, the dollar's going out, so nobody wants dollars. So it's trading dollars for gold. And that's what we've been doing. Rumpelstiltskinning. Here's my monopoly money, give me gold. Doesn't get any better than that. Since the mid-1990s, I've been convinced of the importance of gold for wealth preservation and investment. So he's saying the dollar's going to crash because they keep printing it. I'll hold gold, and I'll just wait for it to go up. I started my first job in Swiss banking in 1966 and experienced Nixon's 1971 closing of the gold window. The consequences of Nixon's temporary actions were spectacular as gold went up 24 times between 71 and 80. Major gold selling by Western central banks, a long correction followed after 1980, and gold finally bottomed out at 250 in 1999. Now, the Russian, Chinese, and the South are not ever going to sell their gold. So don't worry about that. That's what happened with the West, but we'll explain it. Many Western central banks liquidated part or all of their gold holdings. Countries like the UK, Switzerland, and Canada have their holdings in that period, and Norway sold all its gold. One of the biggest signals of a gold bottom was the Bank of England and Swiss National Bank selling over half of their gold near the lows. The central bank selling almost 10,000 tons was another sign of their total incompetence. As I have often argued, financial markets would function much better without these idiot politicians. Natural forces of supply and demand are the best regulators on earth. That's Austrian economics. Egon gets it. That's the whole point. Just let supply and demand, invisible hand, get the government the fuck out of it. And that's what's going to happen. And then you'll get to a real price. And that's why I argue we're not at a real price, because they aren't letting it go to a normal price. Let the natural forces of supply and demand. They're the best regulators. We don't have that. We have JP Morgan. Oh, we're going to do a derivative. We're going to drop it. Why are you doing a derivative? Oh, because we don't have any gold and we don't want the price to get too high. But it keeps growing anyway because of all the central bank demands. History tells us that gold should never be sold, right? Sort of like Bitcoin. Nobody sells Bitcoin, but that's a little different there. If politicians and central bankers ever studied history, they would know that no paper money has ever survived, ever, ever. All papers of fiat money have always been destroyed by governments, without exception. Today, this is achieved by credit expansion or money printing. The more you print, the less it's worth. And they keep printing because they have bills, so they print. US, they got $1 trillion every quarter to pay the interest on the debt. You must pay the debt, or you'll never lend another dollar. You're bankrupt. If you just go back on your debt, you're bankrupt. What if we don't pay our mortgage? We're bankrupt. You can't do that. You have to pay. You'll never get another house. You'll never get another car. You'll never get anything because you went bankrupt and you defaulted. Nobody's going to trust you. Nobody's going to trust the U.S. I don't care what kind of military we have. All papers of fiat money have always been, okay. When gold or silver was money, the precious metal would be diluted by other metals like copper or zinc. That's more the Romans. Physical gold is for wealth preservation and the protection of purchasing power, or to keep the value of the dollar strong. So a dime will buy a Pepsi once again, or it'll be $20,000 for a $500,000 house, as it should. Gold is for freedom and benefit, which we know. Fort Knox holds nothing but moths and half-eaten IOUs. Vincent Lancy on Gold Fix recently wrote the above article. And he gives a little picture of Fort Knox. This is what's in Fort Knox. Vince published this article here. He starts by this tweet. In reality, a central bank only holds an IOU issued by a bullion bank. If the central bank attempts to reclaim its gold, it will never get it back, as the gold has likely been sold to buyers in China or India, who have purchased it outright with no obligation to return it. So if we've hypothecated our gold, and that's what Fort Knox, and we sold it to a bullion bank, they sold it to China, it's gone. Don't think we're getting it back. Don't think we have any. He goes on to say, bold claim, right? He's not wrong. Bottom line with regard to Ms. Shelton's call to monetize our gold by throwing it out on the yield curve, with which we agree, there is no way you can do it. Honestly, if you wanted to, we'd wager no gold is there at all. So, Luke, Egon's saying we'd wager there's no gold in Fort Knox at all. Anyway, there's much less gold in Fort Knox than people think, which brings us to Posner's predictive analysis. So Luke keeps going, oh, yeah, we got the gold. I got, no, we don't have the gold. I tell him, but he doesn't listen. He goes on to quote the Reverend Zoltan Pozar's article. Banks have been managing their paper gold books with one assumption, which is that states would ensure gold wouldn't come back as a settlement medium. The above article is really worth reading, and it confirms my initial statement in this article that central banks have hypothecated the gold to the extent that if attacked by Russia and China, would collapse the Western Central Bank and the London bullion market. Gold up 11 times in the 2000s. So here we are 24 years into the 21st century, and gold is up 11 times in U.S. dollars and more in many other currencies, because the U.S. dollar keeps manipulating it with J.P. Morgan, so the other currencies don't do that. So if you got Swiss francs, your gold keeps going up. Nobody's doing the derivative. Between 2000 and 2011, gold rose 8 times with no single down year. That's a pretty good Ponzi scheme, although it's not a Ponzi scheme. Then there was a 3-year proper correction from 1920 in 2011 down to 1,046 in 29. I don't know about a proper correction. It's just simply JP Morgan. Since 2016, gold has gone up for 9 years, including 3 sideways years. The chart speaks for itself. In the last 24 years, we have seen an incredibly strong bull market in gold, with virtually no one participating. Still, only 0.5% of global financial assets are invested in gold. So virtually nobody understands or invests in it, except for us. And I wrote him that on his Twitter. I said, no, my whole class, we're all buying gold and silver. So don't say nobody. As the graph below shows, gold has gone from 0.2% of global assets in 2001 to 0.5% today. During that time, I've been standing on a soapbox explaining the importance of virtues of gold. Even in my Father of the Bride speech in 2002, still very few own it because it doesn't move and they don't understand its gold is not a stock. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's to save your money. Gold has vastly outperformed stocks in the 2000s, but you didn't know that. Well, I guess 2008 kind of killed stocks, but not gold. With a similar bull market in stocks, which has been the case in most of the 2000s, no investor would have been out of the stock market, right? Still, gold has vastly outperformed stocks in this century. So you don't think it's an investment. For the last 24 years, the S&P 500 with dividends reinvested have risen 572%. Gold is up 990% for the same period with much less volatility. So if you don't think gold's an investment and you want to be in the stock market, you're getting killed here. 990 against 572 if you just hold gold and let it run. Gold ownership is now, again, the last couple of years, we've seen gold go from 1800 to now it's 2700. So we see what's happening. Gold ownership is like a hidden, well-guarded secret. Very few, not even professional investors, know that gold has gone up 1,000% or 11 times in this century, except for us. In our class, we know that. Still, very few own gold, and even fewer are aware that gold fulfills a dual function of both the ultimate protector and ultimate enhancer of your wealth. That's what we talk about. It's you get out of the dollar, but it also is going to get the kick of going up because it's so undervalued and the dollar's going out and central banks are buying gold. So the demand for gold's pushing the price up, which is nice. We got out of gold. We got out of the dollar to get into gold, Rumpelstiltskin, and then we went and said, you know what, we're also going to make money on it, which is a double kick. Normally, you just buy the gold to get out of the dollar, and you're not expecting to make much. Here, since it's been manipulated and the price has gone down, we're getting the price going up. So it's a double, which is exactly what I've been teaching you for the last 3 years. So he must be listening to me, of course. If you own gold, you never have to worry about the price because on your side stand governments and central banks who will always support gold by creating an endless amount of new money, thus expanding the debt and the money supply and inflation. This guarantees the continuous inflation of paper money directly reflecting in the gold price. So the money is going to keep being worthless, but you can't print gold. So gold goes to the roof, goes to the moon, and the dollar goes out. And he's saying, well, the governments are going to keep printing because they have to. What's Trump going to do? He's still got the interest on the debt. He's got Social Security. He's got the military that cuts trillions of dollars. And where does he get it from? He can't tax 100%. Nobody would work. If you went to work and you made $100,000 and you had to pay $100,000 in taxes, would you work? Fuck no. Are you kidding? If you okay. Only since 2000 has U.S. dollar lost 92% of its value in real terms. Gold. So the dollar's lost 92% since 2000, 99% since 1971 when we got taken off the gold standard. History proves that gold over the medium to long term always reflects the government's irresponsible and opportunistic management of the country. Governments always spend money that doesn't exist in a futile attempt to placate the people and buy votes, which is ridiculous. Gold's substantially undervalued. Let's look at the breakdown of all the gold that's ever been produced in history. The cube below shows a picture. You have central bank, you have private investment, you have below with the ground gold, so it's still in the mines. You have jewelry, and you have other. So the central bank's got 37,000 tons. Jewelry is 93,000. Or no, okay. I'm not okay. Gold stock 201,000 tons. So I'm not sure where he's getting it from. So I guess this is tons. So 93,000 jewelry, 37,000 central banks, private investment, which are pensions and stuff like that that are in ETFs, I guess, 43. Below the ground is 54,000, and other is 28,000. So that's where it's mostly central banks, jewelry, still some below the ground, and then some in private and pension funds. Central banks allegedly own 37,000 tons, 18.5% of the total, but we know there's a lot of private banks in Russia and China and India that own more. I was reading somewhere today where the private in China's 30,000 tons, but I know it's 60,000. And India had 30,000 tons, and Russia had 20,000 tons, but I think Russia's is higher. So a lot of it's private. So when these idiots go, well, we got the most gold because in the central bank, they don't keep it in the central bank. Russia, China, and India's gold are private. They're private banks and rich guys. It's off the books. That's where they keep it. Just under half of the 93,000 ton have been used for jewelry. But now come the very important figures. Only 43,000 tons, or 43 tons, or maybe 43,000. Only 43,000 tons, or 3.6 trillion, in private investment gold. If we compare that to the biggest U.S. companies, only Nvidia has a market cap of 3.5 trillion. So does Apple. Gold's 3.6 in private investment. So Nivea's 3.5, Apple, and it's all bullshit. It's market cap. It's the values are not real. So the biggest are Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta. I don't know why Facebook has any value. Tesla, I don't know why they have any value. And Walmart. Even more astounding is that all the gold held by central banks globally is just 3.1 trillion, which is Microsoft's market cap. So the shareholders of Microsoft could swap their shareholdings against all the central bank gold in the world. I doubt the central banks would sell their country's gold at the current price, but we shouldn't put it past them. As mentioned above, they have often sold gold at the bottom and against fiat money. As all paper money has gone to zero throughout history, it clearly can't be real money. Thank you. It is only a claim or an IOU issued by your government. Remember what the banker J.P. Morgan Sr. said. Gold is money, everything else is credit. The dollar on its way to zero. So, nice little picture here. 99% gone. 1971 to 2000 and to 2024, down 99% of its value. So basically what that says is you don't, you have $100 bill, but it doesn't, it buys what $1 used to buy in 1971. So you watch Leave It to Beaver and he's going to the movies with $1 and Ward wants to change. Now they go to the movies, it's probably $30 and nobody cares about the change. That's the value of the money being worthless. So if you don't believe that the Titanic's sinking, you go and you go buy a Coke and it's $2.95 for a 2-liter. That's why you can't use prices, because it really should be about $10, but nobody would buy it. The market won't allow, because we control the markets. That's why prices you really can't use as inflation, only the money printing. As all government debt always increases over time, we know that this debt will never be repaid. Instead, it is inflated away by the constant printing of new worthless paper money and debt until it becomes worthless, which is a de facto sovereign debt. So in other words, that's my point. Nobody wants it. And when nobody wants it, it's worthless. And so therefore, that's how you get rid of the debt. It's, well, the money's worth, nobody wants the money, and the debt disappears, as does your money, though. And that's what makes gold go through the moon, because then as the money's gone, they're, oh shit, we need gold, which is what makes time travel possible, as we know. Remember that this has happened to every currency in history without exception, Luke. I told Luke that, and he goes, how about 10%? I go, well, no, Luke, they all go to zero. He didn't believe me. Since Nixon closed the gold window at 71 the dollar, and most currencies have lost 99% of their value. The total market cap of the top 10 U.S. companies is 19.2 trillion. Let's look at the cube again, above again. At today's price, all the gold ever produced in history is at today's price, 17 trillion, 2 trillion less than the top 10 U.S. stocks. Gold undervalued by multiples, when all of the central bank gold in the world is valued at the same price as one major U.S. corporation, we know that this is absurd. The stock market is so far overvalued. However, what he's not saying is, but the dollar has lost all its value, so it takes more dollars to buy the same. So as I said, a house was 25,000, now costs you 500,000. So these companies valued in trillions is bullshit. But the gold is really where it's at. The stock market is currently overvalued, and our friend Bill Bonner recently wrote in his wonderful style, sooner or later, the lava flows of red hot credit are going to meet up with the cold reality of rising interest rates. When this happened, most likely stocks, bonds, and real estate will all be buried like Pompeii. So when I tell you the stock market's going to crash and the banks are going to crash and real estate's going to crash, yeah, it's not a guess. It's not, well, maybe it will. No, that's exactly what's going to happen. So understand that. Some investors will take a big loss, big deal. Markets are correct all the time. I think it was markets correct all the time, but we're not making predictions. This guy's taken from me. We're just looking for the worst case scenario, and it could be a far worse than just a market sell-off. What Bill states above is inevitable, and gold's coming rise by multiples is a absolute prerequisite. It's not a guess, it's not an opinion, it's fact. In numerous articles, I've stated the reasons for gold's acceleration in price. In my article, we have liftoff in March this year when gold was 2,000. Yes, gold is on the cusp of a major move. As wars continue, inflation rises strongly due to ever-increasing debts and deficits and the fact that they keep printing money. Currencies continue their journey to zero. The world flees from stocks, bonds, and the U.S. dollar, which they're all de-dollarizing. The BRICS countries continue to buy ever bigger amounts of gold, and Putin, I assume the gold-backed currencies in the next week. So we will see if Mark McGuire is telling the truth. Central banks buy major amounts of gold as currency reserves instead of U.S. dollars. They're dumping dollars for gold, which we know. Investors run into gold at any price to preserve their wealth. You don't income average. This isn't a stock. So it doesn't matter what gold is. If I can go to the gold store and he's got gold, I'm buying it at whatever price he has because I'm doing my Rumpelstiltskin. I must get out of this because I can't hold it because it doesn't have a value. So as long as they'll still take the dollar, and that's a big if, because it's not going to keep going. Eventually, they're not going to want the dollar for the gold. Saudi Arabia does not want dollars for oil. That's why the petrodollar ended. They want gold for their oil, and that's coming soon. And so that's the point. Oh, well, the government won't let it happen, I heard. The government is the one causing the problem. They don't have a choice. Once the market says, I don't want the dollar, there's nothing the government can do. They can't kill all the people to buy the dollar and everything. So as they print more, it goes to zero. If the demand for the dollar goes to zero, it's worthless. And that's where we're headed. And that's not an opinion, okay? And back in August, I said 1 million gold price and exchange controls. Dollar, gold, and exchange controls. As I have outlined in this article, I continued, and steep dollar decline in the coming years is virtually certainty. A continued and steep dollar decline. Well, the dollar is gone. I mean, it's down 99%. Where else can it go? As there have been no gold window to close since 1971, the U.S. government is almost certain to implement foreign exchange controls as the dollar falls. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes relatively soon. But the timing is irrelevant. The risk is here today, and now it is time to prepare for it. Thus, for Americans, it would be an advantage to have funds or assets outside of the U.S. as soon as possible. Physical gold and silver are clearly the best assets to hold, as they also protect against the dollar. Switzerland and Singapore are obvious places to hold gold. Switzerland has a strong currency, I don't know about that, and a very sound economy. Exchange controls would be unlikely here. What is extremely important is not to hold your precious metals, though, through a U.S. company or other entity. which the U.S. government can order to return the gold or silver from a foreign vault to the U.S. However, it has been pointed out relentlessly, gold is undervalued by multiples. I have also warned that we will not have a 2008 type correction in the gold price for quite some time, but so-called experts have. For most of the year, warned gold investors that this would happen. Thus, virtually no private investor has bought gold this year in the West, but non-Western central banks, the astute Chinese, and the BRICS countries have. This is a worldwide thing. This is not a U.S. only gold. This is the whole world buying gold. So keep that in mind. The demand's worldwide, not U.S. This strong buying will continue to drive the gold price up by multiples in the next few years. Most precarious geopolitical situation in history. Finally, the geopolitical is more precarious than ever in world history due to both the Middle East and Ukraine wars. The deep state or neocons who steer Biden are doing everything they can to start World War III by provoking Russia with U.S. and U.K. missiles sent from the U.K. in the remaining 8 weeks before Trump takes over. So you can see this is written today. This is totally ludicrous and irresponsible by an unaccountable and anonymous group of people who cannot stand that the U.S. is losing the control. Let's hope the superiority of the Russian Ortsky missiles just fired has made the U.S. military and the world realize that this is a conflict the U.S., NATO, and the world can only lose. Let's also hope the world gets to January 20th without serious escalation. Trump clearly is determined to solve the U.S. problem, as he declared in this video. I'm not going to sound it. I assume that's what he's saying. And that be it. So this is on Twitter. If you follow Egon, and I do on Twitter, I was wondering what's going on. So what happened? Why did gold drop? Because Trump made some things, I don't know, made some comments, and the dollar went up again. And there's an algorithm that when the dollar goes up, gold automatically goes down based on the algorithm without even understanding what the algorithm is or what the gold is. So the gold's on an algorithm down because the dollar is stronger. But we know the dollar has no value and it's stronger against the other currencies that are weak as shit. The euro, the British pound, Swiss franc, the yen, and the yuan. So because the dollar and the Canadian, and so because the dollar got stronger, there's an algorithm. It's not even people trading. It's just an algorithm that says, okay, sell the gold, the dollar's up. Even though there's no correlation between the dollar and the gold. The dollar's gone. So, that's kind of why we see this gold drop is because the dollar's stronger, and then they'll say, well, because of Trump, and it's all bullshit. So I hope you enjoyed, Egon. I want to quickly show you my response to Yankee Doodle Dandy. So I'm watching Yankee Doodle Dandy yesterday. Yeah. So I'm watching Yankee Doodle Dandy. Now, I'm not going to play it.
I'm going to reveal the only 5 to 7 stocks that I believe you should trade options on, and how I've been able. What, if any, impact do you?
Okay. I want you to read my comments. Here's my first contract. When the U.S. dollar goes to zero, gold will not be valued in U.S. dollar. It will be the money. He's saying, what he says is, well, how can we revalue it? What will the other countries do? What will the price of gold be? He misses the whole fucking point. This guy's a moron. And wait till you get to my tweet on that. So when the U.S. goes to zero, gold will not be valued in U.S. It will be the money, like the Romans. Gold will be far more than 80K, and China and Russia will rule with all their gold. The fiat money is all worthless. How do you not understand this simple principle? The more you print, the less it's worth. So doing these videos, you send out false info and people think you know what you're doing. You're hurting people listening. I also never listened to Peter Schiff, another moron, because he took some comments from Peter Schiff. You're an idiot. Gold's price is controlled by COMEX. So he's trying to say it moves and, well, it goes up and down and everything, thinking the market's doing it. Gold's price is controlled by COMEX derivatives, not the market. So he thinks it's the market. Raising the gold price does not control inflation. What a stupid comment. So he's saying, well, if we raise gold to $80,000 or $40,000, it'll be inflationary. No, printing the money is the inflation. The gold does not create inflation. How does the gold create inflation? So if the price of gold went up to 10,000, how does that cause inflation? Is that printing money? No. The only thing that causes inflation is printing the money, as I just read you on Egon. So I got this moron here. So raising the gold price does not control inflation. What a stupid comment. Inflation is printing the dollar to zero value, not prices. BRICS coming out with gold-backed currency in December. He made a comment, oh, BRICS won't do it. They're not going to do it. Doesn't know what he's talking. This guy gives so many lies. He's terrible. When gold gets revalued, how would that hurt other countries? Every country would benefit, and it's not inflationary. Your Keynesians make me laugh. The more you talk about this, the dumber you look and sound. You have no idea about inflation or gold. My B must not have been working. You have no idea about inflation or gold, and I always sign it, the professor. I want him to know who he's dealing with. I think I responded to some idiot. Anyway, so don't watch Yankee Doodle Dandy. This guy he doesn't know what he's talking about. And so I know, you guys like, oh, Andy Sheckman's a nice guy and this guy seems like a nice guy, but they're idiots. And that's what I'm warning you against, Bobby Bow. No, it's not ending. I'm just doing gold first because I wanted to point out Egon had a nice thing that I just read on Twitter. And so I read Egon's tweet. Was probably 10 minutes. We went over the gold price. We haven't done football yet. And now I'm showing Yankee Doodle Dandy where I ripped him a new asshole. Here he has no idea what he's talking about. And of course, my famous, you're an idiot. Gold price is controlled by COMEX derivatives, not the market. It's amazing how many people don't understand gold is controlled price by COMEX derivatives, options, not the market. But yeah, we get it, right? It took me about a day to figure that out, watching Trading Places, of course, where these guys, they don't understand that they think the gold goes up and down. Oh, it's profit taking and it's this and that. No, chucklehead. And then he's sitting there saying, well, BRICS won't come out with gold back. And I said, they're coming out next week with gold back. Putin's doing that because he's going broke on the war. He's got to come out with this gold back currency, and he can't use the U.S. And China wants to go gold back, and India wants to go gold back. So don't, you're an idiot. Are you now showing Mark McGuire? No, I'm showing Yankee Doodle Dandy, and I watched reading Egon's tweet. Egon doesn't seem to do as many videos, but he's on Twitter, and I follow him, and so I see when he tweets, if it's a good one, then I'll read it. And he follows me too, but I don't do what he does. Although today I did the other day, I said, don't worry about gold. It's all derivatives. It's price fixed. It's not the real market. Nobody's selling it. Don't worry about it. I don't know how many people watch me. I get more here, I think, than on Twitter. Oh yeah, it's always a good time for gold. What you call him, Andy Doodle, Yankee Doodle Dandy. Yeah, I know Alligator is completely sold out. I don't know what Alligator's. He's on drugs. I mean, his whole outlook's changed. Mark McGuire sits there and says, "My contacts in Russia say they're coming out December 1st with the gold back ruble or gold back BRICS currency." And yet Alligator, oh, they'll never do it. Now, who do I believe? Well, Mark McGuire is like, I'm telling you, my contacts who have never been wrong are saying this is what's going to happen. And then there's Alligator, oh, it'll never happen. And it's like, Alligator, Jesus, who are you? So I don't recommend watching Andy Scheckman or Alligator or Peter Schiff or Jim Rickards or Rick Rude, any of those guys. You're just going to get frustrated. I can't watch any of them because they're all so stupid. All it does is make me do comments like, you're an idiot. This is my comment to Yankee Doodle Dandy. You're an idiot. Gold's price is controlled by COMEX, not the market. Raising the gold price does not control inflation. What a stupid comment. So he's saying if we raise the gold price, it'll cause inflation. The only thing that causes inflation is printing the dollars. The more you print, the less it's worth. How the fuck does raising the gold price cause inflation? It has nothing to do with inflation. So he thinks raising prices causes inflation. It doesn't cause inflation. Inflation's caused by inflating the money supply. How is raising the gold price inflating the money supply? Again, these guys are so fucking stupid. It's really, really like hard to, I can't watch this guy. Oh no, BRICS won't ever come out with a gold backed currency. And you're like, oh my God, this guy knows nothing. And if the gold price goes up, that's inflationary. And how will the other countries do it? Well, how do they do it with their dollars down? Everybody's dollars are worth different. It's simply going to be the money. Gold will go back to the Roman time, and gold will be the money, as I've explained. The dollar goes to zero, gold becomes the money, and gold won't be priced in dollars. Why is that such a hard concept to know, that the gold will be the money like in Roman times? Like in 1945 to 1971, gold was the money. You don't all have to have an ounce of gold in your pocket. You come out with gold-backed currency, but you make it $25,000 an ounce, and then you can print a lot of money, and everybody walks around with money backed by gold. Not everybody carries ounces of gold, in their pocket. These people are so fucking stupid. No, it's better to have this crap, which is absolutely worthless. And then the other thing is, people don't understand, when you use your debit or credit card, you're using electric money. You're not using digital money. It's not digital, it's electric. The debit card goes right out of your bank account, and the credit card is a loan that you have to pay back in your dollars. So if you owe $1,000 on your credit card, that's dollars. You pay it back with $1,000. It's not digital, it's electric. It's just a simple way. Instead of carrying all this money on you, you just use this card. Oh my God, what a concept! How can I understand that concept? I mean, these people are so fucking stupid, and I can't. I know too much. I understand it perfectly, and I don't memorize it. I know it, and when you hear somebody like this, it just boils your blood, because this guy's a fucking idiot. And you can see I can't really hold back. So Yankee Doodle Dandy, go fuck yourself. So this was the Egon tweet, November 26th today. So I'm on Twitter, and that's what it is. And I'm tempted to call him and talk to Egon and share my knowledge with him. Anyway, so that's the tweet. So if you go on Egon, you can follow him and get that, or you can just watch me and I'll tell you. So anyway, that's what's going on. Let's go to pro football, because we got games Thursday. Oh my God, I got like 6 locks already, and I'm just warming up. Not in the pros. I think I have 2 locks in the pros and 4 or 5 in college. Only these locks make last week's locks look like a joke. There's no Alabama and Texas State in these locks. These are hardcore triple X locks that you go to the bank for. I'm waiting on Titus to send his tip for the UTSA game. Hopefully, I get it tomorrow. Bama got embarrassed by OU. So now, okay, Mr. Bobby Bo, let's go to the next thing. How are they going to play this week? Alabama gets Auburn, and you know where Oklahoma's going. You're probably going to the game. My guess is LSU, that they'll beat Oklahoma because Oklahoma won't even know where they are. Oklahoma's on cloud nine. They beat Alabama, beat them bad. There's no way they can get to that level this week. And then how does Alabama react to getting their ass kicked if they don't have an intense practice and come out strong against Auburn? I'd be shocked. So I would think Alabama wins this week. And this is where you have to stay stoic. We're all pissed at Alabama. They lost. I mean, they didn't even play. 27-3 to Oklahoma. Are you kidding me? Tennessee beat them 25-15. And Missouri just beat them 31-28. How do you not score on Oklahoma? That shows you Milrose. He didn't show up because this guy's a very good coach. And he showed up big against Oregon last year, twice with Washington. And then he beat Texas. So this is not a coach that gets his ass kicked. I would assume he's going to be really mad at the thing. And then it's Auburn, but Auburn's got a decent defense. And it's a rivalry game. So I'm not sure this is the game to take Alabama in. They are laying what are they laying? Alabama. Where is they? They're laying 11.5, 52 to Auburn. Auburn's a B team with a 20 defense. Alabama, I can't call them an A team anymore. When you lose to 26-3 to a team like Oklahoma, who everybody's beaten, hard to call them an A team. So I'm not going there. But now Bobby's game, LSU is 6-47 to Oklahoma. Now, LSU's looked like shit the last few games, but they did beat Ole Miss. They are at home on a Saturday night in Baton Rouge. They will play their best game here. They're not in the playoff, but Oklahoma is going to be flatter than shit. This is what happened with BYU Utah, right? What did I tell you? BYU goes to Utah, emotional game. They're both sky high. And what happens? I told you Kansas would beat BYU because they would be flat, and Kansas won. And Utah was flat also to Colorado. I didn't expect that, but maybe Utah just isn't good without Cam Rising. But in this situation, so what's going to happen? You've got Oklahoma sky high beating Alabama at home, have got to be flatter than shit. And Bobby's only laying 6 here. I brought you up today at lunch, Bobby Bo. I'm in the lunchroom. I don't know who the guy is. And we brought up gold. And then I brought you up. I says, do you know Bobby Bo? He says, well, he doesn't know you, but he knows your contract. Says, well, that was a smart thing. He's still collecting the money. I go, no, it's a stupid thing because the $1 million you got 20 years ago was worth $1 million. The $1 million he gets this year is worth 10,000. So he's getting fucked on the inflation of the money. And then I said, you contacted the Mets to try to get gold with it. And they said no. And so you got to be doing your Rumpelstiltskin when you get your money, run to the gold store and turn it into gold. That's your only out. You cannot leave it in money because you're not even getting anywhere near the contract. You're getting like 1% of what you should be getting. So I told the guy, you got fucked by your attorney in the deal, which sounded good, but he didn't factor in the inflation and the time value of money, and he should have got a lump sum up front or gold. After like year 5, I want $1 million in gold. That's what he should have done, or silver. Anyway, so I did bring you up, and he knew who you were. I says, you're in my class. Bama did get embarrassed by OU. They're definitely not the same without Saban. Well, the problem is he wants to run he wants to run a, what's his name? Penix. He wants to run a Penix offense, but he doesn't have Penix. He's got Milrose, who's terrible. He's a decent runner. He's not a good quarterback. He got hot against Georgia, but he got lucky. They got lucky to win the Georgia game. But in this situation, they go up against the good defense, Oklahoma. They don't show up. They're going up against a good defense in Auburn. I'm not sure they're going to show up there either because I don't think Milrose is capable. But he is a very good coach, but he needs a Penix, which when is Penix going to finally get in play? What is Atlanta going to fuck around? Atlanta's going to lose this week. They play San Diego, and Cousins can't handle this defense. So anyway, I got lucky last night. I had San Diego at 9, and I see the final 30-23. Okay, I won. Then I see that I won with like a minute left, and they scored the touchdown. But they shouldn't have been close. Apparently, Baltimore, this coach needs to be fired anyway, Harbaugh. He goes for it on 4th and 1 at his own 16. And he's trying to explain, we needed possessions. If you don't make it, you lose the game. You do realize that because your defense sucks. So I guess maybe he knows his defense sucks, but that's not that's a terrible coach. How can you go for it at your own 16? Are you out of your fucking mind? You want this guy coaching your team? I'd have fired him right after the game. You don't know how to coach. Anyway, they scored a field goal in the first quarter to go up 3-0 and literally never scored again. And OU went on a 24. Shocking stuff. Well, but the lock this week makes that lock look like nothing. It's not even close. I got a 35-unit lock and a 31-unit lock. That's how strong these locks are. The SEC pretty much eliminated each other from playoff contention this past Saturday. Auburn beat A&M. OU beat Bama. Florida beat Ole Miss. Yeah, and that's the problem. You've got to look at the schedule, and it should be, you could only lose one game or two. They look at the record, but look at Michigan last year. They had no business even being in the playoff because they didn't beat anybody. Ohio State had a shit team. Penn State wasn't any good. They beat Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. They should never have been in the playoff. Georgia was much better. Oregon was much better. And Florida State was much better. So those 3 teams got screwed, and Michigan, who played the easiest schedule in the history of football, gets in. And then they draw Alabama, which was a joke because Alabama wasn't that good. And the one team that they should have lost to, Washington, they didn't have their running back. However, if they would have played Oregon would have did what they did to them this year. They'd have beat them by 20 points. So Michigan got very lucky not that Oregon wasn't there, and Georgia, 2 teams they could never beat, weren't there because they wouldn't have been able to run on either of them. You can't run on Georgia, so they would have McCarthy would have had to pass, and that's no good. Bobby Bow. And LSU lost to Florida the week before with Bobby Bow at the game. And Gainesville is Florida's getting hot right now. My Lou Lafayette coach is starting to get it together. Thanks, Professor. Hopefully you educated your coworker on metals. Well, I'll tell you the story today about another guy today. I agree. Millwall's is a joke. He had one great half against Georgia and went to shit since. Yeah, like a lot of these quarterbacks. Or like our Caleb. Oh, Caleb threw like a bunch of 5-yard passes, and he threw for 300 yards. Yeah, because they broke a 5-yard pass for like 40, and he threw the ball 50 times. So, yeah, don't tell me he's that good. They don't have a running attack. Anyway, so I'm talking to another guy at work today and another Indian, and I'm explaining the concept that if you hold on to the dollar, it doesn't have any value. So you can't, if you hold the dollar, it goes to zero. So you have to find the lifeboat, which is gold and silver. So you don't have an option. You have to get into gold and silver because you can't hold the dollar. If you do, it's going to zero because these morons are printing it to death. That's how they're going to get out of debt. They're going to make the money disappear, go to zero. So if you're holding the money, it's going to zero. If you're holding Bitcoin, it's going to zero. If you're in stocks, it's going to zero. Your only out is gold and silver because it can't go to zero because they can't print it. So he was understanding it. And then I explained like Adam Smith, and I explained supply and demand that, I go, they use prices for inflation, but you can't, because let's say they marked a 2-liter Coke for $20. Nobody would buy it. Nobody's buying it now at $2.95. So the market dictates prices. So you can't just sit there and raise prices and say, oh, inflation is inflation's 2%. How can inflation be 2%? You printed $160 trillion. That hasn't gone away. Now you're on, there's no petrodollar, and people are returning your dollars, China and Japan. Germany will be, and they're giving it back. They don't want it. They want gold instead. So they're starting to return the treasuries. So how are you getting inflation down? You can't, because you've printed so much. The only way to get inflation down is to burn it, I guess. And a lot of it's, you can't. So this is the problem. So he got it. No charts, just plain. I said I teach it like it's my 10-year-old daughter. I keep it down to a low level, and I never have questions that nobody here doesn't understand something. Everybody gets it. And it's basically very simple. You can't, if you keep printing, it goes to zero. That's what happens. So he got it, and he's Indian. And now he's like, you could see it in his eyes. Oh, shit, I better buy gold. I go, you don't have a lot of time because Putin's going to do it. He says, well, how much time do you think we have? I says, a couple of weeks, maybe a month, because Putin's going to launch gold back for BRICS, and that'll be it. And then nobody will want the dollar, because who wants the dollar when you can have gold? And I said, so the problem's going to be you're going to want to buy it, and it's going to be so expensive, and good luck finding it. As I said, I went to my gold store, a week ago. He had 4 or 5 ounces and 4 or 5/10 of an ounces, and that was it. There was no quarter ounces, no half ounces, and just a few ounces. He says, I only get it if people sell it, and people are less inclined to sell it because it keeps going up. And the people with the gold don't understand it. So I keep thanking him for selling me physical gold at paper prices. And I keep doing my Rumpelstiltskin. Here's useless paper. You can have I'll trade you this, which is worthless, for the gold, which is about to go to the moon. Thank you. I'll do that all the time. And now that I'm working, I can take money out of my safe that I've been saving and now buy more gold with it. So that's the other thing. I did that last week. Hey, G, you got to buy the locks this week. I'll give you a discount, but I got a 35-unit lock and a 31-unit lock that I just love. I've got games coming out of my ears in college. I got one very strong pro lock, but the college locks, I love the college locks. There's 3 that and they're not like Alabama and Texas State. These are real locks that I just love it. Yeah, as soon as I saw it. Well, you heard me yesterday. Ryan, Yeah, Ryan's sitting there going, "Hey, relax." I'm like, "No. This is like a dream. I'm like a kid in the candy store this week." Some weeks it's hard to find the games, but you want to put something out. Not this week. This week, I got games coming out of my ears that I love. And I'm just, I'm checking the weather and I'm checking the injuries because I'm drooling. I got drool running down my mouth. But wait, I got to make sure nobody's injured, and I got to make sure there's no snowstorm. There will be a snowstorm in Green Bay. Well, I don't know if there'll be a storm. There will be some snow there, and probably not good for Miami. Detroit, no problem. They're indoors, and the other game is in Dallas. No problem. They're indoors also. So that's Thanksgiving. I did put a Thanksgiving game out, and then Friday there's a boatload of games. I wanted to play Buffalo tonight because they were playing Clark Kent, the worst team, them and Southern Miss. But I just got preoccupied and I was doing my stats, and then I realized it was 7 o'clock and I couldn't make it. So they'll probably win by 50. Buffalo's been scoring 40 a game the last 4 games, and it's fucking Kent, the Z team with the 44 defense that even Akron beat by 30 points. They're only laying 22. Buffalo's going to kill them. I don't know what the score is, but I guarantee you that's how the week's going. Buffalo will kill Kent. I guarantee it. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. Same to you, G. Thank you very much. You can pay Friday, but I'll give you the Thursday games. I'll email them to you. No, you can buy Friday. Do I have a lock Friday? No, but I will have some strong games Friday. There's like 15 of them, so I will have some. But the locks are Saturday and Sunday, and I'll give you I'll email you the Thursday games. Anyway, there's 3 big revenge games: Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Washington, and Arizona State, Arizona are all revenge games. I'm not locking Ohio State, which I wanted to, but I'm like, it's 20, and I don't know if I'll play the game under or Ohio State minus 14 because Michigan always plays them tough. It's a rivalry game. They're going to play their best game of the year, Michigan. And after watching them last week put up 50, I'm getting like, holy fuck, what's going on with them? So I don't know. I might play the game under as opposed to Ohio State, but I haven't decided yet. I got to get into my zone. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you're welcome. Well, happy Thanksgiving. I'm waiting for Titus to give me. Titus played a $400 8-teamer for $36,000, but he lost it with Alabama. He did have Dallas and Denver, Detroit and Denver, my locks, UTSA, and the Washington over, which I have no idea how we won the Washington over. And then we lost the Minnesota under, and I have no idea how we lost the Minnesota. They play a prevent and let Caleb walk down the field. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And then the guy on the onside kick doesn't realize the ball hits him in the foot. The ball didn't go 10 yards. Just get out of the fucking way. Who are you blocking? What are you doing? Get out of the fucking way. Be conscious that the ball's coming and get the fuck out. You don't need to block anybody. The ball is not going to go 10 yards. So get the fuck away from it. And these linemen are like they've never seen an onside kick before to get out of the way. And if they don't go just stand at the 10-yard line. If they don't go 10 yards, just walk off the field. Fucking idiots. Woo. Oh, you're wooing now, G? You're doing your Ric Flair? Anyway, you're probably the 35 and 31. Yeah, I love these games. As soon as I saw it, it was like, okay, this is what I've been waiting for. Absolutely. There's 3 strong college and I think 2 strong pro. And the one pro even got better today. I was looking at the injuries, and it helps our play. So we start off with Detroit, Dallas against Danny DeVito, who might not play because he's injured. The guy's hoping Danny DeVito can play because the Drew Lock's the backup. And Cooper Rush, I told you they needed to get rid of Prescott and go to Cooper Rush, and no. Cooper Rush comes in and he lights up Washington, which is not easy. They have a good team. So if you watch, Dallas will win the rest of their games with Cooper Rush. He's a very good quarterback, Central Michigan guy. What the fuck, what kind of coach is it? Well, we're paying Dak. Yeah, but Dak sucks. You don't win with Dak. He's an idiot. He can't throw the ball. Cooper Rush, 275 yards on Washington and no picks, and he wins the game. Granted, it was a real stupid kind of ending, kickoff return, and then an onside kick for a touchdown. How I won that over, I have no idea. Anyway, Bobby Bo, I met Adrian Peterson in downtown Tampa last week. Is he buying gold? You got him buying gold? Does he need to talk to me? Random, but I just remembered he was a cool dude. Okay. Yeah, to think that Dak is the highest paid player in NFL history shows you, well, the fact that Daniel Jones actually got a second contract with the Giants and they let Barkley go. That was the GM there really knows what he's doing, right? Worst GM I've ever seen. His head coaches are horrible. And it's insanity. So say hi to Adrian for me. Tell him to buy gold. If he needs to talk to the professor, he can come aboard. That's what I'm sure you asked these guys, do you have gold? And he probably looked at you and tell him that he needs to buy gold. That is, especially a guy like Adrian, like these athletes, Barry and Brady, they don't understand they're going to be penniless. Only their assets, if they have paintings or Rolexes, will save them. Their money will be worthless. I don't care if you have $10 million. It's going to be zero. That's what I just read from Egon. He was a great running back in his day, one of the last best running backs. Now there are not any great backs, just receivers and quarterback. Well, no, you've got Derrick Henry, you got Barkley. The guy at Jacobs on Green Bay is pretty good. The Lions have some decent ones. Minnesota's got Adam Jones. So there are some. They're just, you need running back. You need a balanced offense. And, of course, these analytics idiots don't understand that either. So they missed the point totally. They don't want running backs. And it's just, I don't know who does these analytics and how stupid these coaches are. That's why you're stoic. When you're stoic, you do your thing. I buy gold. I don't give a fuck what anybody tells me. We're buying gold and silver. It's the correct thing to do. I don't care if analytics says, oh, no, hold a 10-year treasury. Fuck you. I ain't going to do it. So if I'm a football coach, I ain't going for it on 4th and 1, and I'm not going for 2. How many? I saw that twice. The team's down 14. They go for 2. I think Carolina did it, and one other team, Houston, I think. They go for 2. Instead of cutting the lead to 7, they go for 2, and, of course, they don't make it, and now they're down 8. And then they got to score and then get the 2-pointer instead of just kicking 2 extra points. Unbelievable. Hey, Ryan, how are you? No, he probably bought the Rolex. Adrian Peterson? Well, he probably owns some of them, but I'm sure these guys with, $50-60 million are about to get the shit beat out of them, and they're never going to see it coming. These guys are just, how would they possibly know? If you have $50 million, you're not worried about it unless it's not real, and that's the point. It's monopoly money. Good to see you, Ryan. Locks posted, 35 unit, 31 unit. Love them this week. I'm going to have a ton of college, as you know. Yeah, Josh Jacobs is doing great. He's in the Vikings. No, he's on the Packers, Josh Jacobs. I really liked the Vikings team in 2009 with Favre and Peterson. That team should have won. Well, there was a cheap shot in the New Orleans championship game where they were headhunting Favre. They gave him a concussion. Yeah, that was a cheap shot. He was concussed. That's why he threw it away. But they should have. I think they had a chance to win it, and they didn't. But that was a good team. But I don't know. Yeah, it would have been nice to see them in the Super Bowl. Minnesota in the Super Bowl never does anything good. Right, I'm on two of them. Need to reload in the morning. No problem. Yeah, like this is what you wait for because I know the lock before. As soon as I see the game, I'm anticipating a spread, and if I get a better spread than I'm anticipating, that's the lock. So that's what I'm looking for. So let's go through this. The pros, because Thanksgiving's Thursday. So we got Detroit 10.5, 48.5. Caleb against Golf. Chicago's an under team with the 20 defense and no apparent offense. Detroit's an A team just blowing everybody away. There's 17 defense. What can I say? I can. The Bears will give them a little bit of problem defensively, but not worse than Houston did. Detroit's at home. Caleb's going to get sacked 10 times in this game because they're just going to just pound Caleb. Caleb's now throwing 50 times a game. There's no running. Swift isn't running. Yeah, they got the receivers. The only thing that worries me is that Lions, the guy in for Arnold on the cornerback, wasn't within 10 yards of the receiver on Houston. And who they play? Indy. I mean, the Indy receiver was open by 10 yards. So that's the only thing, Caleb could hit DJ Moore or the other guy, Keenan Allen. He could hit them. This is the problem with having three receivers like that. You're not going to throw to all three receivers. You need other positions far more than you need three receivers. So the fact they got DJ Moore and they got Keenan Allen, what the fuck is Romo Doozy doing there? Yeah, you'll be my fourth look. So yeah, why don't we trade this guy? You only need two, and believe me, that was a wasted first round pick, Romo Doozy. You don't draft receivers that way. Had they drafted a running back, now you've got, I want to say three running back. You've got Gentry from Boise State. You've got this guy, Neal from Kansas, who looks like a monster. He lit up Colorado. I loved it. I loved every minute of him. Just 5 touchdowns on Prime's defense. Oh, they never punted in the game. They scored every time they had the ball, Kansas. God, I loved it. Shut up, Prime. I don't want to see him in the playoff. So he's a stud. He's as good as Gentry. And I think there's one other one on probably UCF. They run a lot, or Baylor always has good running backs. Between Neal and Gentry, they should go in the first 5 picks because these passing teams need runners. You need balance. Look at Joe Burrow. Man, if either of those guys go to Cincinnati, they're going to win the Super Bowl the next 5 years. If he gets Chase, Burrow, and then Gentry or Neal as the running back, how are you going to defense that team? Good fucking luck. Okay, no problem, Bobby. Oh yeah, you're right. It's Aaron Jones, who used to be on Green Bay, is now in the. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so much for Prime making it to the playoff. They are done after that bad loss. You know who should be in it is Kansas. They just beat Iowa State, BYU, and now Colorado. Kansas is probably the hottest team in the country right now. But they're going to get fucked because they lost a few games early because the playoff looks at record instead of the team. Kansas, they'd kill Alabama, obviously. They got a pretty good defense, great coach. Daniels is playing. Daniels, their quarterback, and Neal. I mean, they'd probably beat. Well, they'd beat LSU. They'd probably beat Georgia. I think the only team they might have trouble with would be Ole Miss, but they keep losing. Tennessee has no quarterback. I mean, they got good defense, Tennessee, though. That might be their own, a good defensive team might hurt Kansas, but Iowa State's got a great defense, and so does BYU, and he didn't have any problems there. Yeah, somewhat okay. I thought you liked Prime Professor. Nah, he's too much of a comic book guy. The only time I liked him was when he was on the 49ers because I was a 49er guy back then. But no, I don't. I'm not a big Prime guy. I'm a big Kansas guy. I love the Kansas coach. I've been making money on Kansas the last 3 or 4 years. You know that. We've been locking them all the time with Bean as quarterback. And that's like somebody has Bean. They won't play him. It's like, when is Penix going to play? How many games you watch? San Diego will beat Atlanta. Atlanta just got killed by Denver. At what point do you finally get Penix out there? Because you're fucking wasting the season with Cousins, who is going to choke anytime they get into a big game. Yeah, that Tennessee quarterback could hit water if he left off the boat. He's a volleyball player. Well, he's a good athlete. Yeah, I want a good quarterback. This is the problem. Richardson, well, he's a good athlete. Yeah, but I need a quarterback. I need a guy who can actually throw the ball. So I'm watching the Lion game because that was our lock this week, was the Lions -1.5, which was a fucking joke. And I'm watching Richardson. There's a guy wide open. I mean, the cornerback he didn't know where he was. The guy's 20 yards behind everybody, wide open, and Richardson overthrows him. And you're like, okay, this is what you get when you get an athlete who can't throw the ball. That's why I don't understand. They keep drafting Daniel Sims because he's an athlete, and Richardson, and they're wasting, number 3, number 4 draft picks on the guy because he's an athlete. But at the end of the day, I need a quarterback. I see Lamar. You're going to trust Lamar. Let's see. He lost to Cleveland. He lost to Baltimore. And then he beat San Diego. You're scratching your head going, well, why didn't they do that to Oakland and Cleveland? I mean, why does Baltimore lose to Cleveland and they can go beat San Diego? It doesn't make any sense. The Cleveland's terrible. They've won 3 games, and here San Diego is a good team at San Diego, and they beat them. And you're like, why didn't you do that to Cleveland and Oakland? You had a 10-point lead on Oakland. I'm sure you had a lead on Cleveland. What the fuck? And they have a terrible defense. Horrible accuracy. Yeah, he does. Okay, chat's off, and I keep getting this message. Chat disconnected, and then says successfully connected. So you should be able to chat. Anyway, let's go through it. So Detroit, as I said, 10.5. They're an A team, 17 defense. Chicago's an under team, which means they don't score a lot, but they have a good defense, as we know, at 20. Total on the game's 48.5. I played this game. Dallas and the Giants. Both teams are Z teams. They both suck. However, Dallas with Cooper Rush is probably not a Z team. They're probably higher than that. So we have the Giants with a 23 defense and maybe Danny DeVito, or it's going to be Drew Lock against Dallas, who's a Z team with Dak, but not with Cooper Rush. They're probably more of at least a W. 29 defense. A lot of that is because of Dak. He throws all the interceptions. So it makes the defense, doesn't get enough rust. And there's scoring on the offense on his interception. So that's why the 29 makes the defense look good. You got Micah Parsons. You can't have that bad of a defense. It's at Dallas, 4-38, which is, I think, a low number. DeVito's arm's hurting him. So if he's not playing, it's Drew Lock. I have no problem with Cooper Rush. He beat Washington, and that's why I didn't play Washington. I played the over because I thought Cooper Rush would score and Washington and Daniels was going to score. So I had it played perfectly. I knew Cooper Rush could score for you. And then the last game is Green Bay, 3-47. Miami is an under team, although with tag, they're scoring more, so they're probably more of an E team, like a 24, 25 points a game. It's the same thing with Carolina. Andy Dalton, they're a better team than with Steve Young. Green Bay is a B team with a 20 defense, and it's going to snow, I believe, what I heard. So it'll be a little snowy, which is fine. It's all the wind. Let's check the weather. So if I go to covers, so if I go here, and I can go here, and I go into matchup, I feel like I'm teaching Excel now. And then if you get here, you see it says weather forecast. So if you click on it, it gives you, and it's game time. So it's partly cloudy, not a lot of wind, and it's supposed to be snow, but it's only a 14% chance of precipitation. So is it going to snow today? And then, Vince Lombardi's field is going to get all ruined. So that's 3-47.5. So the way Green Bay beat the Niners, they're gonna put up points on Miami. Miami's defense isn't going to be strong, and they'll all be crying, "Oh, it's cold. We're in Green Bay," and it's like, go fuck off, Miami. Then you got Friday's game. We've got Minshew's out. He broke his collarbone against my Denver team. You play my locks, you get hurt. You get hurt playing against me. Oakland's a Z team with a 29 defense with Max Crosby. I don't understand. That's how bad the coach is. So you either have Jerry O'Connell or you have, I don't even know who the other guy is, somebody who's even worse than O'Connell against a B team, Kansas City, 20 defense, although where was it against Steve Young and Mahomes? So off of a loss, here comes Kansas City, and they get at home, they get a 29 defense. Mahomes will be licking his chop, but he had a 31 defense against Carolina, and they win that game. They win the game 30-27. Now, I don't know if Steve Young figured it out or Kansas. I think Kansas City didn't care. I think they looked at Carolina and they laughed and they said, "Oh, we don't, we'll just show up, mail it in." That's what I think happened with Kansas City. They're not going to do the same thing with Oakland. They hate Oakland, and Oakland hates KC. So this is definitely Kansas City's not going to just sit there. They're gonna play much better game. Well, no, that's not off of a loss. They did beat Carolina, but they lost bad to Buffalo. So they're just playing a little bit, I think, bored. They're the 1 seed, and they're, oh, we got Carolina. Yeah. Oh, we got Oakland. Okay. But it's home, and it's on Good Friday or Black Friday or Green Friday, whatever you want to call it. And again, you got Oakland with the 29 defense and O'Connell. So if they let O'Connell rip them apart, now I know KC's got a good defense. So I don't know what's going on with it. Bobby Bo, I saw your boy Bo Nix is actually doing good. Well, why does that surprise you? I told you. He was 0 for 5 the first couple of games. He's now 16-6, which means he's 16-1 the last 6 or 7 games. I told you he's good. Wait till you see Penix. Penix is better than all of them. But nobody believes me because I saw what he did to Oregon's defense last year twice, and they had a stud defense, Oregon. So believe me, Penix is the real deal. Why Atlanta isn't playing him? Because, again, they're fucking morons. This is the thing. You think the Broncos will go far this year? Yeah, absolutely. They got Sean Payton. They got a killer defense. Denver's defense is a 17. Okay, only San Diego is 16's better. Detroit's a 17. Pittsburgh's a 17. Minnesota's an 18. San Diego's a 16. Philadelphia's an 18. And Denver's a 17. So those are all your playoff teams because that's how you win. I think Denver, I think they can beat San Diego now. I think Bo Nix, when they played him, was just a few games in. Now I think he's got the feel, and we know he's good. So everybody looked at him from Auburn and said, oh, he wasn't good at Auburn. Well, he played 2 years at Oregon. He was the best fucking quarterback there was. Well, he played 6 years. He's already 25. Like, yeah, that really matters. Tom Brady played in his 40s, so you're going to worry about that? Daniels is starting to fade a little bit, although he had that big pass at the end of the game. But where was he all game? And then we've got wait till Penix. They finally put him in. I don't know what Atlanta's waiting for. And the funny part is I'll say that the Lions should be playing Hooker instead of Goff. And everybody looks at me, and I'm like, anybody that puts up 50 points on Nick Saban against Alabama, and they beat him 50-49, and he made some of the best passes, hitting his receiver in stride. Anybody that can do that is far better than Jared Goff. So Jared Goff, he's doing well because of the system, because he's got a running attack and he's got good receivers. You put Hooker in there, he'd be twice as good. Oh, well, we got Goff. Yeah, Goff. Did you see Goff in the Super Bowl? They put up 3 points against New England. They were so bad on the Rams got rid of him. So don't tell me he's good. He's good in this system, but Hooker will be 10 times better. Oh, but Goff, look how good. Oh, come on, Hooker. He only beat Alabama 50-49. He's not good. This is what I don't understand. Put him out there and you would see. So I'm hoping Goff gets hurt, and then Hooker comes in, and Goff will never play again because Hooker will win it, will be the better quarterback. But yes, the Denver. Well, I locked Denver last week against Oakland. I think I locked them before. This week they get Cleveland -5.5. I haven't locked them yet, but I might. Winston against Knicks with this killer defense. This is the Monday night game. I might lock Denver again. Like I said, I haven't played it yet, but I don't see why I wouldn't play Denver at home. And really, I'm betting the defense. It's a strong defense, and I'm betting Sean Payton. He's not like the rest of these idiots. He's not going 4th and 1. All right. So KC playing Oakland, the Z team, and we don't know the quarterbacks, Jerry O'Connell or some other guy. That's where we're at with him. All right. Now we go to Sunday. We got Seattle 41.5 to the Jets's. Both teams are under teams. Both teams with 22 defense. We got Geno Smith and Aaron Rodgers. How the hell Seattle played Arizona to a 16-6 game? I cannot answer that. I have no clue. Where's Kyler Murray? He scores 6 points on this defense. I don't understand it at all. It's not like Seattle's got a good defense. So, with that said, you got the Jets. I have no idea. The coach, you don't have Saleh. You don't have the offensive coordinator. You got Rodgers. Not like they put up a lot of points. It's just a mess there. So it's really hard. to bet the Jets like I like to, and it's really hard. Seattle, anybody that gets rid of Coach Pete for this idiot, I don't like their coach at all. He's like lost out there. He's got the deer in the headlight look. I don't like Seattle's coach. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. This I like. Pittsburgh, an A team, the 17 defense, and Russell Wilson going against the over team in Cincinnati. A 27 defense. They don't have a defense, and they don't have a running game. It's all Joe Burrow. And Cincinnati's 3-47. So I don't understand how Pitt. I have Pitt 3-point favorites. I don't see how you can make Pitt the dog in this game. Number one, and then you've got with Russell Wilson and Burrow. There's going to be point. Nobody's shutting out Burrow. And Russell Wilson, Cincinnati can't stop the win. So enough said. Indy, New England. Indy, an under team. Indy's -3 and 42. Richardson against May. Two guys that don't belong in the league. They want to run. They're not quarterbacks. Indy's an under with a 23. New England's a W with a 24. W means they don't score a lot, but they're better than a Z team. So if you score 15, you're a Z, like Carolina. But if you score like 21, you're now a W. Although they only allow 24. I don't know how Indy can be a road favorite. I mean, I don't get Richardson at all. He's not good. Drake May's not good. So you got a bunch of not good quarterbacks. So I'm curious. Defenses are okay. They're average. These teams, both of them suck. I remember it was like in the mid-70s, Indy and New England were the worst two teams. No, I think it was Baltimore. Yeah, so that's Indy. Indy and New England. They were both like 0-15, and they played like the last game, and somebody had to win it. And then they got Burt Jones, Indy, Baltimore. And then New England got Steve Grogan, and then they both got better because they had they got good drafts. So it's a cycle. Every 30 years, Indy and New England both suck. Tennessee and Washington. Washington off of this loss to Dallas. 5.5, 44. Levis against Daniels. Tennessee's a Z team with the 26 defense, means they score maybe 15, 16 points with Levis, although he's starting to look better. So I keep an eye on all that shit. And Washington's an over team. They were an A team, but now they're 23 defense. They gave up a lot of points to Cooper Rush. Now, granted, it was a kickoff return for 99 yards and then an onside kick return. So they really didn't give up. What was it? What was the score? 34-26. Take 14 away. It was really, they gave up 20 points. So that's about what they are. They're pretty good defensive. Daniels, he's running good, but he's a good quarterback. That's the difference between him and Richardson and May. They can't throw. He can throw, and he's very accurate. Plus, he went to LSU. So Washington, it's kind of like let's maybe a B team. When you stop and take, kickoff return and this, it makes it a little bit different. So 23 defense, but in that is the 2 kick returns. So that really doesn't count against the defense. So they're probably back to like a 22 or 21 defense. That's the problem when you just look at scores and not the team, because if there's return yardage, like when they intercept on Dak for touchdowns, it makes the defense look worse than it is, but it's not. It's just they're scoring on these pick sixes or the fumble returns or whatever. So keep that in mind. So Washington is much the better team here. They're coming off this bad loss. Are they that good, though? They were a bad team last year. They've improved dramatically, but are they all that? And that's the question. Tennessee sucks. But how did they beat Houston? So everybody thinks Houston's all that. They play the Lions this great game, and then what happens? They lose at home to Tennessee because Stroud throws 2 or 3 picks. Stroud sucks. I'm trying to tell you that, but you don't want to listen. But he's not very good. He threw some bad interceptions in that game. There's no way if he's really good that you lose to Tennessee. Detroit beat him like this. How good Detroit is? They beat him like 52-3. And Houston at home, who plays Detroit really tough. And here's my problem with the coach. If you got your team that fired up for Detroit, why didn't you get them that fired up for Tennessee? You lose to Tennessee. You play Detroit, you have them beat. If Stroud doesn't throw a pop-up that gets intercepted, Houston wins the game easily. And then you lose to Tennessee at home. Will Levis, really? And this is the problem I have with the NFL. The coaching's so bad. The teams, what you expect, then they get all fired up for one team, and then you don't see it again. They weren't fired up. Why didn't they wear the red jerseys and the red helmets against Tennessee? Why doesn't Notre Dame wear the green jerseys every week? So I just, I think Washington, they're the better team. I'll probably go total in this game than trust Washington even. Levis is, I don't know. They're doing a little bit better. So I'm just kind of trying to anticipate. I really want that shutdown San Diego defense to bet on, not Washington's 23 defense or 22. Bobby Bo, I can't believe that Houston actually lost at home against the 2-8 Tennessee team. Well, it's not the record, it's the matchup. That's what I always say. So, but what gets me is the way they played the Lions. And if you can play the Lions, who's the best team like that, how do you let Tennessee even score on you? Are you kidding me? And that's the problem I have with the coach. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. You can get them psyched up. Why don't they play at that level every week? It's the Bobby Orr thing. Bobby Orr said, I don't care how good or bad you are. I just want you to play at the best level you can play at consistently. So every game you go out there, you should play the same game. Whatever, if you're this level or that level or this level, because that's what he did. That's why he's the best that's ever played, Bobby Orr. He'd go out and just was unbelievable. He brought it every game. And he expected his teammates to do it. They'd all get worried. Is Bobby looking? And if Bobby would look at them, they'd all piss their pants like, oh, shit, Bobby Orr. Anyway, I agree. Yeah, they went from Brady and Manning to the Richardson and May. Isn't it crazy? Why do they think Richardson's any good? He's stuck at Florida. He could run a little bit, make him a running back. That's the same thing with Jalen Hurts. Should be a running back, and Lamar should be a running back or a receiver. Remember Hines Ward on Pittsburgh? He was and Randall L. These guys were receivers. They were quarterbacks in college. Hines Ward was a quarterback at Georgia, but he was not a pro quarterback. Neither is Lamar, neither is Hurts, neither is Drake May or Richardson. They are good runners. If I'm coaching Baltimore, Lamar's my wide receiver, period. Let him get out in the open field, but there's no way Lamar's my quarterback. And that's what I have against Harbaugh. He's out of his fucking mind to have him as quarterback. The guy can't win a big game because as soon as he goes up against a good defense, we saw him against Pittsburgh. They lost. It was 18-10, and they lost 18-16, and they shouldn't have scored. But that's the problem. Against the good defense, he can't throw the ball. He kind of does a shot put throw anyway. He's not a quarterback, but you're trying to put him you're putting a square peg into a round hole, and you're going, I wonder why we can't win with Lamar. Oh yeah, we're good against shit teams. Let's see him this week against Philly, right? That'll be the test because Philly's got the good defense. Bobby Orr is on the Boston Bruins. Bobby Orr and the Big Bad Bruins. And he came in '66, was his first year. he was a prodigy. He was a pro at 14, but he didn't start till he was 18. And then they won 2 Stanley Cups, and then they ran into the Broad Street Bullies of Philadelphia and Montreal with Ken Dryden. So that's why they didn't win more, because they had some tough competition. But the Broad Street Bullies, and if you would have liked them, Bobby, they beat the hell out of you. It was like big time wrestling for real. Bobby Clark and those guys, and they beat Boston one of the years. And Montreal with Ken Dryden beat them one of the years. But they were a great team for 10 years. And he was the best, by far the best player I ever saw. I mean, the move, because he was fast. The moves he could make to get away from other defenders was unbelievable. There's a lot of, if you go on YouTube and you do Bobby Orr, there'll be like 25 minutes of highlights. And you'll watch it and you'll go, I don't believe what I'm watching. He's so good. He's so, like, you can just see this guy's better than anybody else. Oh, okay. I don't know much about hockey, but I guess all Bobbies are great at. Well, there you go. Your middle name should be Bobby or Bonilla. But go on YouTube and watch it. And I think I've shown them once or twice before, and you'll just go, oh my God, this guy is unbelievable. Much better than anybody now. All right, Arizona, Minnesota. Arizona, an under team with the 22 defense. What do I got? 146. 22 defense, and Kyler Murray, who forgot to show up last week, putting up 6 points on the rough Seattle defense. Seattle has a 22 defense. He got 6 on them. Marvin Harrison sucks. He's a wasted. That's Maserati Marvin. So the guy sells them, and then people drafted him because he sold them as Maserati Marv, and not in the pros. He's terrible. He can't catch a back shoulder pass. You like hockey, Professor? When there's a Bobby or a Mario Lemieux or those Red Wing teams, I did. I don't watch it now. It's way too boring, and you can't even watch it because it's all. The problem is they're all on these specialty networks. It's on Peacock. It's on whatever. They don't have it on regular TV, so I don't watch it. I'd rather watch wrestling, Ric Flair on YouTube, or the Professional Bowlers Tour with Mark Roth and Marshall Holman, or old football games. I have no interest. I'm not going to watch. I'm going to sit and watch hockey. Plus, I don't even know what channel it's on. I'm not going to watch on YouTube the 20-minute game, and I don't know any of the players, and I don't care about it because there's no good players in it. So I don't. They change the rules. They lose me. See, you watched baseball in the 60s and 70s because it was Mays and Clemente and Bobby Bonds and Sandy Koufax and Mantle, and you had all the Pete Rose, you had all the superstars. So you watched it. I remember watching these All-Star games. It was the only chance you could see Clemente and Mays and Aaron, and then and Reggie Jackson and K-Line. It's the only time you could see them because it wasn't on the game of the week with Tony Kubek, and that was it. And now they've oversaturated it, and I didn't watch one Tiger game unless I was at the gym on the bike, because I don't have Bally's Sportsnet, and I'm not going to fucking pay Bally's to see baseball. So there's a game of the week on, and it's always the Yankees Boston. I don't really, you've killed your own market by taking it off of NBC and CBS. And that's like football. What are they going to have a game on? I think the Raider game is going to be on Netflix or something. Well, I happen to have Netflix, so I'll probably watch it. But otherwise, I'm not buying Apple and the NFL Network. You think I'm paying for football? You're out of your fucking mind. I'll watch it on YouTube, and I'll watch it on Sundays and at least Saturdays, so I can still watch the games. But you can't watch baseball, and you can't watch hockey, and probably you can't watch basketball. So if I don't watch it, it's out of mind. You're killing your own product with all this. I'll get rich by having it on Apple and Amazon, even though nobody's going to watch it. So that's the big problem. I never heard you talk about it. To you not wager on it or anything. I told you my Wayne Gretzky story. I like hockey live and been to a few Lightning games. It's fun. Go sit in the first row. I went to a Red Wing game when they had Yzerman and those guys, and I sat in the first row. It's a whole different game than sitting back in the upper bowl or 50 rows up or upper deck. You hear the skates, you see them sweat, you hear them swear, you hear the puck and the sticks clang and everything. It's a beautiful game from the first couple of rows. So here's my Vegas story. This is probably early 80s because I had to be 21. And Edmonton had Gretzky and Messier and all the boys on it. And Vancouver was the worst team in the league. And Edmonton went to the East Coast to play the Rangers and the Islanders and Pittsburgh and Philly, and they lost 5 in a row. And again, here's where my psychic ability comes in. So I go to Vegas, and I don't bet hockey in Vegas, never. And I go there and I say, whoever I was with, I say, if Edmonton plays Vancouver, I'll bet it because they're the worst team in the league, and I got a team losing 5 in a row. So Gretzky takes them all to Arizona to go golfing for a couple of days to relax. And who the fuck do they play? I'm in Vegas. They got Vancouver. And the chills go down my spine going, oh, I can't fucking believe they're playing Vancouver at home after a 5-game East Coast trip, and now they're relaxing golfing. They win the game 5-0. I don't know how much I won, but it was like I gotta, it's sort of like a lock in football. You hope for the right line and the right matchup, and when you get it, off you go. And that's exactly what I got. So I got Gretzky and Messier on Edmonton after 5-game losing streak, finally at home playing Vancouver, who was the worst team, and they buried them. And it's a money line in hockey, so it was. I don't know what I was laying. It didn't matter. I probably had $1,000 on the game, and it was the dream. But that's the only time I bet hockey. I mean, I just never really. It was always money line, and I'm used to points with football, or basketball, so I never did it. But that was my Vegas hockey bet. Was taking Wayne Gretzky on Edmonton with Messier off a 5-game losing streak. And that's kind of how I look at when teams off of a loss. That's where I get it from, going, well, fuck, that works. So it gives you that positive reinforcement. And then you look like Alabama this week. I don't think I'll play them, but they're going to be pissed off the loss, right? And that's what you look at. Georgia off the loss to Alabama, and these teams off of a loss. That's why I drool for the next game. I like hockey live. Okay, yeah, we're talking about it. Okay, so where am I? Arizona under 20, Minnesota 3.5, 45.5 to Arizona, an under team. They're not scoring with a pretty good defense, 22. And Kyler Murray, who sometimes shows up and sometimes doesn't. If he's allowed to run, they win. And if they don't let him run, they get killed. Minnesota, an A team. Their new figure is now Minnesota is 25-3 in a teaser. Going back the last 2 years, Minnesota 25-3 in a teaser. I had them the last few weeks as soon as I stumbled onto this stat. 25-3, just money. They're at home, Arizona. I like Darnold. You got Jefferson. You got a good defense. The coach seems to have his head on straight. Darnold's not hurting you. You got Aaron Jones, good balanced offense. You can't fuck with Jefferson. And then last week, he was double, triple covered the whole time. They went to Addison, and he caught like 15 passes. Should never have gotten that close last week. Who did they play? The Bears. I mean, that was a joke. They got them 27-10, and and they let Caleb. They just had to prevent defense on Caleb. So that you got to blitz Caleb because he doesn't know what to do. He just runs around like an idiot. So Minnesota minus only 3.5. Good defense. Darnold's not hurting you, and you always got Jefferson. So very good team. Arizona, I don't know what the fuck. They could score 6 points here, and would it surprise anybody? San Diego, 1.5, 48 to Atlanta. And it's not Penix, so Cousins we know is going to choke. San Diego's a B team with a 16 defense, best in the league. And Herbert, who is very strong. Atlanta is an E team with a 25 defense and about a 25 offense. So Cousins gets some points. Their defense sucks like usual. That's where I like San Diego. Is there a 16 defense? Or Pittsburgh, or Detroit now, or Denver. This is who I'm going to bet is the defense. So when you ask you who my favorite team is, it's, well, let me see. This year, it's the teams giving up 16, 17 points a game because defense always wins. The 74 Steelers, the 60 Packers always won because of their defense. And that shows up every week. If you have a good quarterback like Marino, oh, yeah, he threw 3 interceptions and fuck you. But if you have a good defense, they're there all the time. So you don't have to worry about it. So that's my point. So I'd rather bet on a really strong defense. So San Diego, 1.5. Now, if Atlanta was a 3-point favorite, as they should be, that would be a lock. San Diego and 9. That's how a lock appears. But I don't have that. That's my spread. Atlanta should be a 3-point favorite. They got San Diego 1.5. If the game changes, then that'll be San Diego as a dog. We love it. And we love it because of their defense and Herbert. So it's a little bit tricky because they're laying 1.5. We can get 4.5. I don't give a fuck about going over 0. I like that I get San Diego with more than 3 is what I'm concerned about. I live in reality where they score in 3s and 7s. So if I got more than 3, I'm a happy camper. What's Cousins going to do against this defense? Bosa and Khalil Mack will be all over him. And he chokes with pressures. Figure 2 interceptions for San Diego. They're going to run it down their throat. Atlanta has a 25 defense. So, and you got Herbert over Cousins. I would be afraid if Penix was playing. That's my point. If Penix is playing, Atlanta can win the game. Cousins, they have no chance. So, haven't played this one yet. I'm still working on. We got to make sure the injuries. There's no weather. It's inside, and we know Atlanta doesn't have a defense. So you can't really trust them. You can't trust Cousins. That's for sure. All right, Houston, 5-43 to Jacksonville. I believe Trevor Lawrence is going to play. Let me write that in. So I guess his shoulder was hurt, but now I think after 2 weeks and the bye, I think he's ready to go, although he sucks, but so's Mac Jones. Houston, I don't know. They can't beat Tennessee at home. I have no idea. I mean, they're an under team. They don't score with a 22 defense. So you think Stroud's this is it. They don't. If they're an under team, means they score like 16, 17 a game. If they're an E team, they'd score in the 20. They don't even score in the 20s with Stroud. How can they be a road favorite? They can't score to be a favorite. Jacksonville's a Z team with the 29 defense, but Stroud can't take advantage of it. You saw the Lions against Jacksonville. They put up 50 points. You going to get that from Houston? No. They don't have the offense. You want Baltimore will kill Jacksonville. Philly would kill Jacksonville. Green Bay, Minnesota, which they did. But Houston, I can't trust Houston. They don't score enough. So they're the under team with the 22 defense. I don't even know if to go over or under. If I have Mac Jones, it's probably an under because where's Jacksonville going to score? And with Lawrence, he's another one of these terrible throwers, but a good runner. So again, you got an athlete at quarterback, and again, the team loses all the game. So how long is it going to take these GMs to realize you got these running quarterbacks who, by the way, don't win any games? Richardson and Caleb and who else? Who else? Let's see. Bryce Young and even Lamar doesn't win any playoff games. Winston, you got to be kidding me. Will Levis, Drake May. I mean, these guys, they might be able to run for first downs, but they don't win games. So why are you there? Are you just there to have it exciting because you're just trying to make money, but you don't care if you win or not? That's some bad ownership if that's what they're trying to do. All right, so I can't take Houston on the road. So it's a question of if it's Mac Jones, I guess we go under, and if it's Lawrence, then I would say Jacksonville's probably a live dog, or we maybe go over, but we'll have to see who's playing. Tampa Bay 6-46 to Carolina, the Z team, 31 defense, and Bryce Young, who sucks. I don't know what happened last week with Kansas City. They didn't blitz them at all. I don't know what they were doing. I think they were just going through the motions because they didn't care. They knew it was Carolina. They knew it was like, pass, go, collect $200. Tampa, an over team with the 25 defense. Baker's been lighting up. He got Evans back last week. Carolina, Z team, 31 defense, and Bryce Young's terrible. So Tampa should pound them. Especially with Evans back. And, let's see if all of a sudden Bryce Young is good or not. I watched the highlights to see were there a lot of pick sixes, were there strips. I mean, how did they score? And it was pretty much not until late in the fourth quarter. They were up 27-10 or something, Kansas City, or 20-10. They had an 11-point lead, so it was like 27 to I think it went 20-19. It was like 27. No, it was 27-16. And then they played a prevent and let them score on them. So I don't think Tampa's going to be that generous. It's a division game. So Carolina, they're used to Tampa. We'll see. The Rams, 3-48. They're an E team with a 25 defense. The New Orleans, who's an E team with the 24 defense. Carr's playing well. Stafford, we'll see if Olave's back. He had a concussion. Kamara's been playing. Tyson Hill had a huge game last game with him back. I don't understand this spread. I think New Orleans should have been the favorite here. Game's in New Orleans. The Rams, okay, yeah, we all know they got Puka and Cooper Kupp, and that's it. They don't have a defense. They got a 25 defense, New Orleans 24. So I don't buy that why they're favored by 3. Would you trust them -3 in this game? I wouldn't trust them. New Orleans is not bad with Carr. Again, they fired their coach. It's always the coach. You got a good coach, you're going to win. You got a bad coach, you don't have a chance. And you know that, Bobby, from baseball. You got the bad coach, you're fucked. Philadelphia, Baltimore, game of the week. We got Philly, an A team with an 18 defense and Hurts and Saquon Barkley. Baltimore, an over team with a 25 defense that can't stop the win. This team is terrible defensively. Hurts against Lamar. So you've got Baltimore scoring and Derrick Henry against Barkley. So this is a wonderful game. Baltimore's a 3-point favorite. Very interesting. Total of 50. Very interesting. Philly is just playing really well. Their defense is playing well, 18 defense. But this is what I picked up. This is how I watched the game. So watching Baltimore, San Diego, and what was that score? It was it was 30-23. I got to fill that in. All right. So Baltimore won 30-23. Now, what do I take out of it is that Baltimore scored 30 on San Diego. Now they get Philadelphia. Now they scored 16 on Pittsburgh. So I'm saying, aha, against a good defense, he doesn't show up. But then against San Diego, he puts up 30. So now I say, oh, okay. So it depends on who it is. Pittsburgh has his number, but not San Diego. And then here we got Philadelphia, who they've been playing really good defense. But I think that Baltimore should be able to score in this game. And I know Philly will because Baltimore can't stop shit. So that's where I'm at with it. So look for a very good game. Should be a tight game. Buffalo and Frisco. Buffalo 7-45. Is Purdy playing? I doubt it. If he was that injured and he couldn't play last week, I don't think he'll play. And then it's Brandon Allen or whatever against Josh Allen. Frisco's an E team with a 24 defense. Buffalo's an 18 with a 20 defense. They play very well at home. And if it's not Purdy and if it's not Nick Bosa, we saw what Green Bay did to him. Buffalo will do the same. So if they're still injured, it's Buffalo. Buffalo's laying 7. So you don't have your normal San Francisco team out there. So you got to really throw the trends out. So really they're a Z team right now without Purdy, without Bosa, even though they got McCaffrey and then they got Ayuk out. So when you're healthy, you're one team. Like when Andy Dalton was at Carolina, they were an over team. And Bryce Young comes back, they're a Z team because they're not going to score. And last but not least, we got Denver 5.5, 42. We had Cleveland, a W team with a 24 defense. Not a great defense, but they have Myles Garrett. And they got Nick Chubb back. And Denver, a B team with a 17 defense and Bo Nix. So you got Winston against Nix. Huge edge for Nix. That's my point. Nix and Daniels, they don't need 5 years to figure it out. Well, Caleb, we got to do this and that for him. Well, but Bo Nix gets it right away, and Daniels gets it, and believe me, Penix gets it. So those three don't need 5 years to get it, but Caleb does. Well, that tells me he doesn't know. Bryce Young doesn't know. Either you get it or you don't. Herbert, right away, he got it. So this bullshit with Caleb needs this, and we got to help Bryce Young. This bullshit. They don't get it, and they won't get it. All Caleb does is run around trying to avoid a sack because he holds the ball too long, and he can't read the blitz, and he can't immediately get rid of the ball, and he holds the ball too long. So does Stroud. So does Lamar. All these guys. They wait to see the guy open. Meanwhile, these guys are coming at him to sack him. All right, so Denver's playing really well. All right, they beat a Z team in Oakland last week. That's why they were the lock. There is a method to my madness. So Cleveland's at 24, but they have Nick Chubb back, and they got Garrett. So you got to be a little careful. Winston, I don't know. All of a sudden, he's playing well. You got a tough defense, 17 defense for Denver. Is Cleveland going to be able to march up and down the field on them? And then what does Denver do against a 24 defense with Myles Garrett? So it's a little tougher game, that one, than the Oakland game. So what I look for, Dallas, 29 defense, but now you got Cooper Rush against the Giants who have maybe Danny DeVito. Oakland with the 29 defense against KC. You got Cincinnati with the 27 defense against Pitt, Tennessee with the 26 defense against Washington, Atlanta with the 25 defense against San Diego, Jacksonville with the 29 defense against Houston, Carolina with the 31 defense against Tampa, and that's it. The rest are low 20s. And I went through the good defenses. Detroit's a 17, Pitt's a 17, Minnesota's an 18, San Diego's a 16, Philly's an 18, and Denver's a 17. So if you understand, you want to bet art of war. We want to bet on the defense, and we want to bet against the weak defense. That's how we locked Denver over Oakland, and that's how I locked Detroit over Indy. Indy had they have like a 24 defense, but Detroit laying 1 to just about anybody unless Philadelphia, Kansas City, at Buffalo maybe, Baltimore. I mean, there's only a few teams that I'd be not wanting to lay Detroit -1, but when you get them against Houston and Indy and Tennessee, it's a joke. So Detroit's playing well when they play the shit teams, but that's been their MO the last few years. They beat the shit teams. They couldn't beat the good teams. This year, beating Dallas is not a good team. Beating Minnesota was a good win. Beating Green Bay, Love was injured. It was rainy. Okay, I'm not sure about that. You got the Bears. They should beat the Bears, but they're going to have a little bit of struggle against that defense. The Bears have a pretty good defense. However, the weak point being Caleb stops you from taking the Bears and the points because Caleb ain't going to do shit. So we'll see. They got a Green Bay game, a Minnesota game, and a Buffalo game. And they play the Niners, but the Niners got to get Bosa and Purdy back to give them a game. They got McCaffrey back, so we'll see. So that's the Lions. They got 2 Bears, a Vikings, a Green Bay, a Buffalo, a San Francisco. I don't think they play Philadelphia. I don't know how they don't play Philadelphia. And then they got the week, they got the AFC South, Jacksonville, Houston, Tennessee, and Indy. So that was 4 easy wins. Well, the Houston wasn't, but so you're really looking at that, and we will see. I'm not going to go through all the college, but let's just go through the Thursday games. Tulane 14-55 to Memphis. Both are A teams. This is for their conference championship. We got Colorado 16-64 to Oak State, who is playing okay, and then they don't, and they're all over the place. Wisconsin 244 to Minnesota. I'm going to skip the MAC. Navy won against East Carolina, which is a very good game. East Carolina's coming on. Boise 20-56 to Oregon State. Boise hasn't really been blown out teams. I think they're all keying on Gentry, and that's it. Old Mississippi 26-62 to Old Mississippi State. And that should be an interesting game. South Alabama won 61 to Texas State. We've been betting Texas State lately. Iowa 639 to Nebraska. Georgia 20-54 to Georgia Tech. And you know how I love Georgia Tech, and I love Georgia. And UCF 849 to Utah is the last game on Friday. We've got Ohio State 20-43 to Michigan on Saturday. Louisville, Kentucky, Tennessee, Vandy. Let's see, Florida State. Troy gets Southern Miss, the worst team in college football. We won locking against them the last 2 weeks with Texas State and South Alabama against. We basically were betting against Southern Miss. with pretty good offensive teams. North Carolina State is not the rivalry. It's North Carolina Duke, but that's a good game. Miami 11-67 to Syracuse. Penn State 24-50 to Maryland. Penn State must win the game. Arizona State in a revenge game with Arizona, 8.5, 53.5 at Arizona. We got Notre Dame, USC. Notre Dame 7-51 to USC. They switched quarterbacks to Maivia. It was a strange game against UCLA, 19-13. I thought there'd be more scoring. Alabama, 11.5, 52 to Auburn. How are they going to come back against getting killed by Oklahoma? I think they're going to, especially at home, but Auburn's a pretty good defense. And what we've seen from Milrose, he's like Lamar. You put him against a good defense, he doesn't show up. We've got Conference USA at night. Jesus. Indiana 28-56 over Purdue. I got a feeling this game is going to get ugly, boys and girls, because Indiana is, a very good team. They can still make the playoff, but I think they need a really big number here to get in. LSU 6-47 to Oklahoma. Oregon in a revenge game where they lost 2 games to Washington last year, the regular game and then the Pac-10 championship game. So they owe Washington 2, and the game's in Oregon. We got Texas 6-48 to Texas A&M. We got Virginia Tech 7-48 to Virginia. We got Vegas 17-55 to Nevada. I remember when Nevada used to be the better team. Now it's Vegas. See what a good coach does. You get a good coach, all of a sudden you got a good team. And at the end, New Mexico plays Hawaii. And New Mexico is a very explosive team. That is football, ladies and gentlemen. So we talked quite a bit about gold and inflation. Everybody seems to get inflation wrong. Oh, it's prices. No, it's not. It's printing the dollar. It's inflating the dollar, hence the term inflation. You print the dollar to death. Once you print it, inflation can never go down. It only goes up, right? And you can't measure it in percentage. So whenever these idiots are saying, oh, inflation's going down to 2%, I roll my eyes, and as Bobby will say, I shake my head and go, this is bullshit. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. Once you print $160 trillion, because you printed it for the petrodollar, and all the countries had to trade in the U.S., now China's trading with India, and Russia and China are trading. And you fucked Russia over because they can't even play because you've sanctioned them. So you're forcing them to go to gold. Now, are you doing that on purpose? Are you really this stupid? We're going to sanction them like the tariffs. It's going to be disaster. Tariffs make the prices go up, which makes the economy go down. Hence, the Great Depression in 1930 was basically the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, making things much more expensive, which people couldn't afford. People in the other countries couldn't afford it, and that's why you had this terrible depression throughout the world, because they couldn't afford anything because you've raised the prices. So you want to do that again? Then he goes and hires the Treasury Secretary, who is George Soros's finance guy. Oh, great. Yeah, that'll work well. Let's hire George Soros as finance guy. Oh, my God. So we got big problems here. The inflation is not going away. It can't go away because you can't reduce the size of the dollar. You've printed 160 trillion. What are you going to do? How do you get it down? You can't. Interest rates don't do anything. They might slow the economy, so maybe prices drop, but prices aren't inflation. It's the money printed. So that's what you have. You got idiots like, who was the guy? Yankee Doodle Dandy saying, oh, we can't raise the gold price because that will cause inflation. Where did you learn that from? That's the dumbest comment I've ever heard. If you raise the gold price, inflation goes up. Okay, that's like saying, you know, if Bobby Bowe plays for the Mets, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be bad. It's got nothing. There's no correlation to it. What are they talking about? So if you hear Yankee Doodle Dandy, just I wouldn't even waste my time. Peter Schiff, I wouldn't waste my time, and Andy Scheckman, God knows what he just rumbles on about nothing. Egon and Mark McGuire, the only two to listen to, but only listen to Mark McGuire when he's by himself. The cowboy guy doesn't. All he does is watch me and he steals my stuff, but he can't explain it because he doesn't know what. He can't understand what I'm saying. It's above him. So just keep that in mind. You got questions, come to me, ask that. But I try to walk through all what inflation is and what is going on and why you buy gold. And the dollar will go to zero like it did in every other fucking country, including the Romans, the Germans in 1923. Why, it's like, well, the government won't let it happen. My friend at work said, well, the government won't let it happen. And I go, the government really doesn't have a choice. It's not like they're letting it happen. The market controls it, and they can't control the market. That's why gold's up to 2,700. They can't control it. All right, let's see where gold's at now. Should be up. Yes. 26.36. So you can see once the U.S. gets out at about 6 o'clock, all of a sudden it starts running. So that's the Asians. That's China. So 26.36. You notice, so it gets down to 26.10 and then it starts popping back up because they're doing derivatives. They're doing call derivatives instead of put derivative. Call up, put down. Silver 30.46. It's still, again, this is not real. It's the guide that we go to the store to use, but it's not real. The gold price is probably 20,000. Silver is at least 2,000 an ounce. If you would just let it go, because if it's priced in dollars and the dollar's lost its value, how is gold and silver not going up? Oh, it's price fixed. Oh, and why is it price fixed? Because we don't have any gold, and the people with the gold, we don't want them to get rich with the gold, so we don't want the price to go up. That's the problem. But Putin's coming out with gold-backed currency. Putin's coming out with a diamond and metal exchange where they price the gold and diamonds in physical and not this bullshit COMEX and not the beers, and you'll get a real price on gold and diamonds because Russia's got a lot of gold and diamonds and they want the price to go up because they're being inflated with the stupid war. And that's how I think how they're trying to beat them, but they don't realize they have gold. Chat's connected again. I don't know why I keep getting this disconnected, connected. It's not anything I'm doing or you're doing. It's just YouTube. Like when I couldn't see the chats, that was YouTube. Now I see. See, I don't do anything different. I see Bobby's chats now, but I didn't do anything different the other day when I couldn't see anybody's chats. So I just do the same thing. I just come up and do my class. All right. So that's it. So good luck on that. Again, I have a 35 and a 31 unit lock going. This is the biggest lock I got all year. I love it. To quote Herman Munster, I love it. 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 I have 2 locks. I will have at least 3. Depending on injury and weather, I could have another one, but that's it. So I think it's 2 for sure. And then I know a couple more coming. Anyway, I know I just highlighted a lock. Oh yeah. Okay. There's another one I got. They're laying what? Okay. So that's what we got. And that's how I do it. And that's what you should be learning. The one guy wanted to learn how I did it, and then after about 5 classes that he liked and taking notes, he stopped coming to class. So, okay, I don't know why. You're dealing with the wizard here, so the professor. So this is a once in a lifetime opportunity you have to pick my brain. So start picking away. All right, that's it. So happy Thanksgiving. I'll be on tomorrow. I'll probably work. I don't think I'll work a full day. Thursday, I'm not making a turkey because it's just me. So I'll probably make chicken. And normally I'd make a roast, but I got to watch my meat. So I'm not going to make a roast. And so I'll probably maybe ribs on Thursday. I don't know. It's always a treat, but we'll see. We'll be watching the football. And that's it. So have a nice night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And we'll go from here. So www.teaserking.com. Those of you who are buying, I do recommend you probably want to buy on Thursday. I know a lot of you buy Friday night and Saturday. If you can buy Thursday to get Thursdays, I got 2 of the 3 games going in the pros, and then Friday there's 15 college games. I'm sure I have at least 3 or 4 of those. And then the Saturday, and that's I think when most of the locks are Saturday at this point. I might lock a Friday game if I can find one to lock. And then I do have a lock in the NFL. So anyway, that's it. Good luck. Be stoic. You know what's going on with gold and the dollar. So when people say other things, you just roll your eyes at them and you stay stoic. And if someone, no, that's not inflation, you just say, no, I know what inflation is. Thank you very much. Like I did with Yankee Doodle Dandy. Oh, if they raise the gold price, that's inflationary. And I'm like, how is it inflationary? You're not printing the money, and you don't need a stable gold price. Every country can have their own gold price. It doesn't fucking matter. Every country has their own price for chicken. Like it's an asset like anything else. Are the mantle cards the same price everywhere? I don't know, but that's not inflationary. If the mantle card goes up, it's not inflationary. All right, so be careful listening to some of these idiots. Anyway, have a good night. www.teaserking.com. All right, take care, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.